Greetings, y'all. My name is Martin Sierra, and this is my masterclass final for English 1302. And for this module, I'm going to be analyzing The Long Day's Journey Tonight by Eugene O'Neill. Also, I'm going to be reading some of my notes, so if anything, just know that I'm just trying to make sure that it's alright and my information that I'm going to be talking about is correctly. So first, I would like by starting saying that giving a little bit of a overview of what's the story about. All right, so we have some characters. This is a very dysfunctional family, in my opinion. I don't think there's this type of families usually exist by now. So we have James Tyrone, that's the father of the family. You have Mary, that's his wife, who we know that she's like a morphine addict, that we know that, and she has this weird action and way of acting, like I would say it. She's like what can we say it exactly? She has different mood changes, mood swings, according to her addiction, drug addiction or morphine addiction. Then you have two sons. You have Jamie Tyrone. He's the oldest. He's like, if I remember right, he's like in his 30s. Then you have Edmund Tyrone. He's younger, and as we know that I think he got tuberculosis, if I remember right. He starts having this cough where he starts feeling sick, and they usually argue a lot about all these problems with the mom, the dad, the dad's let me say negativeness, since he's always grumpy and always trying to argue about everything. So I will start by talking about feminist gender, which really was something I noticed a lot in this story, which is not that common to say it, I guess, and look at it. So by talking about feminists, I will start by mentioning Mary Tyrone, who's the wife and the mother of Jamie and Edmund. And as mentioned before, she has this morphine addiction that lasted for a long time, and being like really taunting her down for a long time. We noticed that she's still into it, and that she's not allowed to leave home for her safety. And they usually argue a lot about this. We can see how the three men, who's Jamie, James, and Edmund, try to protect her as much as they can. So I would say, like, they keep her away from reality, since they all know they talk behind her about her addictions, about what she's capable of doing and what's not, like, or what she's not capable of doing. So I feel like in this part, it relates most to the feminist side. She's seen like the weak person instead of trying to help her, I guess. Because as mentioned before, I also noticed during there was this chapter, and I remember that in this chapter they mentioned how Edmund and Jamie went for some prostitutes or something like that, and they get home and they mentioned it in front of the mother. Like, there's this, for example, let's say in reality nowadays, this is not something you would mention to your mom. There's some kind of respect, morality that you have towards them, and it's something that you wouldn't mention in front of a women, because you're respectful, you keep things private. But they say it out loud, and they mention all this stuff, like all their adventures, things they do in front of her. Like, she has like no value, no, like, they have no morals over it. And this really, I was surprised, because this is not something I would say in front of a person. And I also noticed that her addiction really is like really bad. It proves us that they don't really care about her, because they always mention that. They always talk about it. Yeah, that's a fact. They always talk about her addiction, but we don't see them trying to prevent it from her, because we know that she barely got out from her. She wasn't to a place where she would like rehab and all that. So also, if I remember right, we know that she actually loves her family, uh, I remember she's mentioning that she regrets marrying James Tyrone, who's the father of Jamie and Edmund, because she had to sacrifice all her dreams of being of playing the piano and being like in this big concerts, because he wanted to have a family, and he only looks at her in that way. Uh, so how as I would see it in this type, even though she didn't mention exactly, we would think that James Tyrone kept her away from chasing these dreams of being in a concert, playing piano, and being happy, as I would say it. So this is what most like it stood out the most for me in the part of gender and feminist, how she's looked down from the three men in the family. Um, for this is the module. I'm done with this module, and I'm gonna jump to the next one. Hi, for this second module, I want to talk about how disease has too much meaning in this story. Mainly, it's more of a symbolism type of thing, since we know that there's two characters that have a disease, you want to call it. Well, one is a disease, the other one's an addiction, mostly. But I want to talk about both of them, how they have like strong meaning, and they help the story keep moving from there. I want to start by mentioning Edmund. Edmund is the younger brother. He's like 10 years younger than Jamie, if I remember. As we know, when he's barely introduced in the first chapter, as we see them outside eating, we notice that he has this little cough. He starts coughing, and if I remember right, um, they mentioned that his father, who's James, has money. Yeah, we know he has money. It's by the looks of it. He mentions James mentions that he's broke and that he's not gonna waste money in dumb stuff. But as the house, the luxury, the suits they were able to notice that he has money. He bought that house and built it and all of that, and it's a big house. So going back to Jamie, we noticed that he's sick, and as the story keeps on, we know that he got tuberculosis. This little cover starts hitting him from the inside. He's he starts feeling sick, headaches. He feels like someone's sitting on his chest. He can't breathe. Well, a lot of cough, and they mentioned how he went to the doctor, but not a good doctor, because his dad didn't want to pay for a better one, because he's probably just saving or other stuff. So this disease, we actually see it like I think remember if it was chapter 6 or 7 where he starts feeling bad, too bad. He couldn't even stand up. He's sitting down. His mother notices this, and they argue. Everyone's always arguing about him, about how he's sick, and the fact that it's all his father's fault, if you want to say it, since he didn't take him to a good doctor at a young age. So mostly this makes me think that this disease brings a lot of trouble between the family. It's a very dysfunctional family overall, always arguing, fights. But we also know that Edmund's the youngest. Jamie's the oldest. Both of them, well, the three men in their family have this alcohol addiction. They're alcoholics, and they're always going out to the bar with the prostitutes, the strip clubs, wherever it is, to drink, and they actually come back drunk, really drunk, you know, very very drunk. So Edmund, we know that he's also into it, and he has this disease that's actually killing him in the inside. So they also mentioned how he has this way of spending money down, not taking care of it, wasting it in one night. And they look his mother, if I remember right, she expects a lot from him. She wants him to be successful. He's like the baby. She's always hugging him, expecting good stuff from him. But we know that the disease brings a lot of problem in the family. He's looked down, and they don't think that he's soft. because we do know that he's intellectual. He's like this loving person. Never likes having been in trouble. No argument. He's peaceful. In the first chapter, when he's mentioned about his disease and they start fighting about how they didn't take him to a good doctor and how it was actually mostly his fault and stuff, he decides to leave, not being there and being able to argue with all of them. And we notice that this disease, the idea of the disease that he has, is able to make us realize about the family and the way they act. Since they always mentioning about him and how like there's a chance of him dying or not being able to get cured and stuff. And it's crazy because they're their family and they don't have this love or interest in doing best for him. Because we know that one day the dad, after arguing with Jamie, James and Jamie were arguing, and then they decided to take him to the doctor, but it wasn't good news. Same old bad doctor. And on the other side, we have the addiction, which I would say like it's more of a disease instead of just like a mental thing. Because we noticed that the mom, Mary, she's always going upstairs, and she usually always in argument. She's always fighting about what's wrong, what's good, about how the father should take care of his kids more and do the right thing and stop being so grumpy. But always arguing, she's always like this mood swing. And when she goes up to the upstairs to her room or to the guest room, I think she always comes down happy, smiling, and all that. It's because she actually took morphine or this addiction he has. She takes drugs, and they all try to save her. Not save her. They just try her to. They don't want her to know that they know that she's doing drugs, so they keep it as a secret. And this more of a disease, I think. It's not the right thing. I don't think they really care about how she's feeling about all this. And as family, I say like if someone you see like someone that like has that type of disease, because I don't think it's just an addiction. In my opinion, that's already a disease. She's already into it. There's a chance that she will suffer something. And I do think that if you see someone with an addiction, you should try to reach out to them. But if they don't take the help, you don't have to be right there trying them to agree with you. So it's mostly the idea that they should try to help her out. Be like, no, we know that you do this. You gotta stop. But I don't think they'll be able to take this off from her. This disease is actually ruining the whole family. In this last module, I really want to talk about the psychoanalytical criticism towards the story, because let's be honest, this is really important in order for us to understand what's the problem with every single individual and understand what's what they want in order to be stable. First, I really want to talk about I'm gonna be looking at a definition right here. This is the exact definition of psychoanalysis, and it says that it's a system of psychological theory and therapy which aims to treat mental disorders by investigating the interaction of conscious and unconscious elements in the mind and bringing repressed fears and conflicts into the conscious mind by techniques such as dream interpretation and free association. So now that we know what it means, this mostly means that, to keep it short, it means that they're gonna study this person according to what they dream about, how they act in front of people, what's their common reaction to certain type of comments, how they explode, how they calm down, and all this. And in my opinion, if it's value for this, I really think that we see this psychoanalysis made by Eugene by himself in his own story, which really stood out for me when I saw it. The fact that how he mentions, because there's this one chapter, one of the first chapters, where the mom decides to move to another room because she blames James's snores. So she moves to another room, and as we mentioned here, like that type of actions where she tries to be aside from them makes me think that it's mostly because of her addiction. And as we see right here, where it says it's mostly towards their action. Usually, well, right now I want to talk about Edmund, who's the youngest brother, how he acts, how, like psychoanalysis. I want to analysis him on how he acts when they start arguing about him. So it's mostly the fact that usually when they start talking about him, saying how he's deceased is affecting him, how all these problems evolve around him, he usually tends to leave. He doesn't like staying to argue. He'd rather stay away, do something else, go by himself. Like when they were arguing, he decided to go around the beach and then walk by himself, and they go around while they were working outside. So his reaction to always these arguments is leaving, stay out of them, even though they like it's about them. He'd rather leave, stay outside of them, even if it means like if they're arguing because of him. Just he'd rather stay out of it. On the other hand, we have James, the father, who I think is like the biggest reason why this family is dysfunctional. Even though he's not the addicted person, he doesn't have tuberculosis. He is one of the main reasons why this family has these problems. So I'm gonna analyze him, and what I realize is that he's this old, grumpy, negative person. He's always mentioning about saving money, not spending the right amount of medicine doctors to save his son. He's always trying to argue about everything. No matter what it says, he always tries to make his sons feel bad and attack them with words. Never physical, that I remember. It was always mental, the way he acts to them. How he mentions that Jamie, how he always fighting with Jamie, always. There's this big fight between them. Also, I would say that this is the way both act towards problems, because Jamie and James, father and son, they always go against each other. There's always this fight between them. So I would say that's how they react to stuff. They're not like the youngest son, who's the nice, lovely, intellectual person they mentioned in the story. They're way different than that. There was this aggressiveness, this anger they have inside of them. They let it out every time they argue. They're more of a bipolar person. That's the exact word we're looking for. They might be fighting 5 minutes. The next minute they'll be talking with a long tone and try to seek for a solution towards all their problems. So they're always against each other. That's the main point. The way they act to certain actions, disorders, or interacting with people, fighting. That's the way they see it too, as a solution. On the other hand, we have Mary, which her solution is always drugs. That's the way she acts. For her, the only way to be out of a problem is drugs. Can't really say much about her, since we know that she has mental problems. She regrets doing all the stuff she did, marrying, having kids, because she really wants this dream. And I guess really wasn't my favorite story overall, but it has a lot of meaning into it. Now that I looked at it, really makes me think about how they act, how they fight, how do they act mainly. How at the beginning when I started looking at the story, I thought it was gonna be a love story, but it just turned out to be a drama, mystery, a lot of fights between them, stuff that you wouldn't like expect from a family like that. Because let's be honest, Mary looks decent for her age. And then we have James on the other side, the father, who's just always attacking everyone else. And we have this son, Jamie, who's an alcoholic, has problems, not always trying to argue, has likes going for prostitutes, drink. And we have Edmund, the youngest kid, on the other side, just sick, and tired of all the arguments. Barely dysfunctional family. That's how I would like to finish my masterclass final. There was a really nice story to analyze. Has a lot of meaning behind it. So thank you.